Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV, brought to you by the Texas Alliance of Energy Producers. I'm Jim Cardle. The Texas oil and gas industry has been a driving force not only for our Texas state economy, but also for the nation as a whole. And Chris Faulkner, Chairman and CEO of Breitling Energy out of Dallas, is a nationally recognized expert on the future of the oil and gas industry. He is frequently seen on Fox News, MSNBC, and Forbes magazine and other news sources. And analysts across the country, with the price now hovering between $40 and $50, are taking a close look trying to figure out what the future holds for our national economy and the oil and gas industry. We're pleased to be able to visit today with Chris Faulkner, Chairman and CEO of Breitling Energy out of Dallas. Chris Faulkner, Chairman of Breitling Energy up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, principally out of Dallas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You have been on the go all week. It's been a somewhat interesting time in the oil and gas industry, to say the least.
Sure.
We're thrilled to have you here. If I can, real quick, first of all, just to get a general sense, because of the up and down swings in the price of oil and gas, give us a little overview, if you can. What is Breitling Energy thinking about the state of oil and gas in Texas, the future of energy independence, and what's Breitling's outlook?
It's a big question. Three parts. We'll start with the first one. So, look, I think Texas is fortunate in a number of ways. Number one, we've got the Permian Basin. We've got the Eagle Ford. Both of those which are very economical, even in a suppressed oil price environment like we're seeing right now, right? So we, in Sterling County, in the Permian Basin, we've got some Wolfcamp, Sprayberry assets where we can find it and develop a barrel of oil for less than $30 a barrel. So that's pretty good. Now, up on our Bakken assets, we're talking about $65 oil, so it's not economical right now. So starting back in December, we began to shift our rigs out of the Bakken, out of the Kansas, Mississippi line, Oklahoma line, into really focused 100% on our CapEx drilling budget on Permian Basin right now. So for us, I think that states like North Dakota and Ohio or Pennsylvania, they may have challenges right now because of where gas prices are at, where oil prices are at, but Texas is fortunate. We got good infrastructure, we've got good people, we've got availability of equipment, and we've got assets which we can bring out of the ground very economical. So what do I think for 2015 is I think the following. Oil prices are going to remain range bound between a 4-handle and a 5-handle until June, July. And they're going to begin to grind back up slowly. And we think we can get oil into the 50s and hold as we go into the fall. And by the end of the year, we think our models show oil between $65 and $68 a barrel, getting near 70 but not touching 70. And the last component of that is everyone's, well, Chris, when's $100 oil coming back? Well, they're like the clock's ticking or whatever. We think that $100 oil will not be seen until at least 2020 and beyond. So we're in a new era of oil prices. We've got to do more with less. We've got to continue to push innovation, technology. And those are the things now that this industry has to live with and be able to find assets and develop those at an economical pace, knowing that we've got a $75 commodity on our hands and we've got to work with that.
I know you mentioned the Bakken, which is up in the Dakotas, for those folks who aren't familiar, the
Right.
Eagle Ford down in South Texas. And there has been a lot of prognosis or economists trying to forecast this price per barrel.
What do they know?
But how about, right, the economist
Right.
and the accountant class. How about in particular, though, if I can get you to drill down a little bit.
Sure.
Down in South Texas in the Eagle Ford area, you all been down there. What have you seen the impact of this huge increase in oil and gas activity on the local economies?
Well, look, you look at Texas as a whole. The rainy day fund at the end of this year is going to be $10+ billion. Okay, and there's some folks saying it might even get to $12 billion.
Okay.
Just a few years back, you're talking about a rainy day fund that had $6 million in it, and they thought the same might, grow to $6, $7, $8 million bucks. No one in their wildest imagination thought this thing's going to $10 billion. And we've already drained it once because of the 2008 economic crash and refilled it again. So oil and gas really is fueling the Texas economy, and some might argue has kind of fueled the entire U.S. economy, or we could be in a recession without it. So I think that these local economies, you're talking about education, transportation, things going back into these communities to support these people, and that's all due to energy. You talk about jobs, okay? The average industry pays $40,000 to $46,000 in wages per person. We're paying $119,000 to $121,000, the highest amount of wages being paid by any industry. For every one job that's created in other sectors, we create 6 in E&P. For every one job in another sector, we create 22 in a pipeline, in the midstream business. So energy is fueling this economy, and I think Texas leads the pack in states' economies because of the energy business. And you look at what we call the U.S. have-nots and have-states. The have-states are where oil and gas is being developed, and the have-nots are places like New York and California, where the economies are suffering because they won't allow for fracking, they won't allow for energy development. The resources beneath their feet, they're stymied the development of that because of the environmental concern. But Texas has got good infrastructure, good legislators, people that support our industry, and they get it. And why? That's why we're flourishing as a state when others are not.
So I want to thank you, folks, for joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV, brought to you by the Texas Alliance of Energy Producers. Chris, let's talk about the actual drilling process if we can. You are a nationally recognized expert, a media spokesman, so to speak, for the industry. And in regards to the fracking issue that's been in the news quite a bit earlier this year, is being addressed in some legislative sessions, either to prohibit or to encourage drilling. Talk, if you can, a little bit about how fracking, by and large, has been an absolute benefit not only for the industry but for the Texas economy. Tell us what you can as an industry expert on the fracking process.
Fracking's been in the news, is what you're saying. It's been in the news. Okay, it's hard to believe, right? Every day it's in the news. Look, I think let's start local and talk about Denton. Okay, let's talk about Denton, Texas. Okay. Denton, Texas became a nationally recognized city, internationally recognized city because of this local control fracking ban situation, right? So you go to Denton and you've got people up there who have built homes around wells that have existed for 30, 40, 50 years. And these wells were right in their backyard, but the wells were there first and the homeowners came, they bought homes after the fact. They then began to push back because of these wells being too close to their home. The reality is that it's not the wells and the setbacks. They said it's due to fracking. Well, then fracking wasn't the issue, but fracking became the boogeyman. It's the go-to scapegoat of the environmentalist movement. And I believe that, and I'll give you an example. In Dallas or in Irving, Texas, where I live nearby, Dallas Cowboy Stadium was there. Back in the day, it was torn down. There little earthquakes occur. Boom, it must be due to fracking. There's no fracking occurring around there. There's not even no wells around there, but everyone's fracking. So, look, I'll tell you, they are working on fear. We're working on fact. Here's the facts. Fracking has been around since 1947. We've fracked 1.5 million wells in this country already, all successfully. The EPA on 3 different occasions under the current president's administration has looked for water contamination results. They have found none. Okay, 1.5 million wells have been fracked. There are no tangible examples of water contamination. That's what the environmentalists want you to believe, that you're going to go and drink water full of chemical in your homes. Just not the case. Now, whether we frack a well or we don't frack a well, we take the same set of precautions. And I'll give you a quick example in your mind of this.
Please.
When you drill a water well, a lot of the folks out there drilled water wells in this area. You don't drill down 6,000 feet unless you want to drink brackish water. It's not going to taste very good. You drill down 300, 400, 500 feet. So near the surface, you drill a water well. We're aware that there is surface water aquifers when we're drilling through those. The Railroad Commission requires us to know where the aquifer is, and they tell us with your permit you must drill down a certain depth beneath the aquifer, come back out of the hole, set a large piece of pipe, a medium piece of pipe, and a small piece of pipe, and then cement those into place, so an upside down triangle, and then drill through that for the entire well, whether you're going to frack it or not. It keeps the mud out of there, it keeps the drilling fluid out of there, and the frack fluid. So this has been the procedure for a century, and the Railroad Commission here does a great job governing that. So we are protecting with 3 layers of protection any kind of water aquifer from any type of chemical or mud or water or brackish water being produced out of the well. So the industry has no motive to contaminate your drinking water, to cause a spill or anything of the such. And I think our safety record stands alone as probably one of the best of any industries in this country because we take that very, very seriously. Imagine this in social media right now. This is going to be on the internet. People around the world can watch this. One issue of water contamination in Pampa, Texas will be known about in London, England in a matter of minutes because now of social media and the internet. Times have changed.
You're absolutely correct and very wise to perceive the social nature, social media impacting. And in that regard, I know you have been an industry leader in engaging up in Washington, D.C. with congressional elected officials here at the state level not necessarily on fracking, but give us a legislative oversight if you can because of your engagement. Are there any particular issues that you're fighting or looking to encourage? There's been some discussion of lifting the export ban.
Sure.
What are you working on legislatively?
You know, on my current palette right now, we're looking at a couple of things. One, the export ban's important, right? We can't export crude oil because of an antiquated 1970s law that was under a fear and scarcity versus now exuberance and abundance. And so, you know, Washington moves slow, but let's be honest, not 5 decades slow. And this thing is really causing harm now to us as producers because we're seeing gluts of oil in a time when oil is at a 6-year low. Now is the time to put our commodities into the world markets, and there should be no reason why as a producer I can only sell here in the United States or into Canada. I should be able to sell to Europe and to Asia, places that need our oil, to compete with and frankly remove the geopolitical swords that Russia has, that Iran has, these countries like Saudi Arabia. We need to reduce all that and put out a partner, an energy partner these countries can get behind. That country is the United States of America, and that's not possible right now. The Jones Act is a problem for me. In 1929 Act saying that only American flagged ships can go between American ports. Well, if you're hauling crude, I can't haul a barrel of crude from New York to Houston. Cost me 3 times the price to move a barrel of oil from those 2 cities that I can from Houston to London, England. Because of the Jones Act requires unionized ship, staff. The ship has to have a flag and built here. So a number of different things that cause issues. We want to be able to export crude. We're also talking about the tax treatments that the independent producers here use. They're able to use a manufacturing process, take that capital, reinvest it back in the business through these tax treatments that manufacturers get. So they're not subsidies. They're deductions like any other business owner gets. So we're worried about some of the folks in Washington not paying attention on that. And you got to keep their eye on the ball because they don't know. They can get swayed pretty easy one way or the other. So those are things we're really worried about right now. But for me, crude oil exports is very, very timely. If it was $100 oil, okay, we can work on it a little bit. But right now, with this price, we don't want to see oil glut because gluts mean discounts, and as producers, that means keep it in the ground until we can sell it for market, and that means less jobs. We don't want to see that happen in Texas.
Let me transition a little bit if I can. Chris Faulkner with Breitling Energy out of Dallas, and ask you if I can real quick, let you get on the road. A lot of folks will know Breitling Energy up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You've been sponsor of some radio programming up there, but also because of your leadership nationally. Just for, say, the next 6-12 months, what's the outlook? What does Breitling Energy maybe have up its sleeve, if you will?
All right. Well, look, I mean, for us as a public company, we're going to continue to use our currency as capital. We're going to continue to buy assets in a downtrend and downturn in this industry. We're going to take advantage of opportunities out there. I know a lot of folks who have good assets, but they can't afford to service them all because oil prices have come down so quickly. So cash is king. We're not levered up. We have very little debt on the books. We can utilize our position right now in the industry, take advantage of some producing assets that are being sold now at a song. And a lot of guys are doing that. So we know that those assets are out there. The deal flow across my desk hasn't been higher in the last 2 years. So I'm not going to hop back on the radio probably right now. Probably not. But what I will do is continue spreading the word about our industry, fracking, energy independence, what Saudi is trying to do to us, and the fact that we're going to do our part and everything we can to make sure that Saudi knows that we're not down and out, that America is not going to succumb to Saudi's pressure to price us out of the market. We will continue to forge forward, and America will bounce back, and I think that's going to happen before the end of the year. So folks have written us off. They're going to make a grave mistake, us as a company or us as an industry.
Okay, well, speaking of leveraging up, we're going to leverage our appreciation for you coming by
Thank you for having
today.
me.
Hope you'll come back.
Absolutely.
Folks, Chris Faulkner with Breitling Energy, an industry leader out of Dallas, Texas. We're pleased to be able to present Chris Faulkner thanks to the sponsorship of the Texas Alliance of Energy Producers. Remember, you're either an insider or you're not. Be sure and join us for our next edition. I'm Jim Cardle. Thanks for joining us.